Alright, so I'm going to do a quick review on this E8 gate opener I got from Amazon for my double gates here. Sorry about it, the trash truck just came by, but I'll continue here. And it comes with three of these remotes, so it's kind of handy. And first of all, the green button, the way I've wired it up, opens up both gates. And if you notice, they go fast, then it goes down to slow. And the thing I like about these is there was no adjustment. What they do is they actually adjust on their own by sensing when it has some resistance, and the doors just stop on their own. So if you just make a nice door stop on when the gates are shut, it actually, or if you actually extend them, like what I did, is I extended them all the way out. Okay, I extended them all the way out, and then you can bolt it in place, or you can bolt this on here, but I actually welded it because I actually bolted it, and then what happened is it moved a little bit. So I decided to go ahead and weld it as well. They're bolted, but I also welded it. It doesn't take but a second if you have a welder. If you don't have a welder, then maybe you can really wrench them down tight, or you could push it up tightly against there or something like that so it doesn't move. It's probably a better way to do that, but I didn't do it because I wasn't really worried about it. I figured I'd just weld it in place. So they come with these two stainless steel gate openers, and from what I can tell, I think the whole thing, that might be aluminum, but the whole thing seems like it's steel, or it is stainless steel. So inside, I don't know what's inside. I didn't open them up, but these were galvanized here, and they came with bolts for these. Came with all the bolts for here. Came with a little wrench for the Allen wrench here, and it also, I think, where did we put those? Well, I have the little Allen wrenches somewhere. It came with for this, and you'll need a 17mm for those there to install it. On mine, you'll notice that I have it going down at an angle. A lot of people are trying to put them on level. I don't think you really need that, but it might be a good idea to do that. On my gates, because I'm on a sloped area, I made them go downhill because I didn't want a bracket in the way of my screws to do service on my wood. So if you're wondering, it does work fine with that. I didn't notice any problems with it. It doesn't bind or anything like that, because this side here is hinged. There's a little hinge right here, and this side here is a fixed straight. Because this is on an offset hinge, you see the bigger hinge in the bottom and the smaller hinge up here, to make it go uphill. If you have I do have another video on that. You can check the channel and it'll show you how to do that. If you need that, if you have that problem, then it actually does twist a little bit. So, but it does that okay because there's enough play in the end for it to do that. So there's something I noticed on here that was a little bit odd, and I figured out in the wiring instructions, it shows right here. I'll show you. If you see here, I've got a jumper wire right here, and what it does show in the wiring instructions is it shows to tie those two together, and I believe that there is if you have a electronic beam. If you want to put electronic beam in to know if there's something in the driveway, you can do that. And I believe you do use, instead of a jumper wire there, you'll have your circuit for that right there, if you can see that little white wire. So other than that, all the instructions were fine, but until I did put that jumper wire in, it was kind of operating weird and it wouldn't work. And I was a little bit frustrated because they didn't really clearly show that in the instructions. So keep that in mind if you're going to buy it. Make sure you check the instructions, look at the wiring diagram really carefully, and make sure that you know that jumper wire does need to be there. you can call their tech support if you have a problem. Of course, I didn't. I started to call them, and then I realized that the jumper wire was missing, and it was, it was in the instructions, but it wasn't very clear. So you notice there's these two wires tied together here. Yeah, that is part of the wiring scheme, and the way that I have this wired right now is so that you can open one of the doors with the red button. So if I push the red button, it'll open just one of the doors. So that's what that option is. It says something like open one at a time, but it's really saying one door. So but you can wire everything to if you look at the wiring diagram, it'll make sense. You can wire everything to the number 2, I believe it is, and then it will always open 2 doors, and you'll never be able to open one. So anyway, the cool thing is it does come with a battery. It comes with this battery. It can run on solar. There is a solar charger here. But you'll need to look on the wiring diagram where to wire it in, and I think it's a 12-volt solar panel, and you can buy it separately if you want to do that. Or you could maybe use a universal one. I don't really know. That might be something you can look into. But it was actually very easy to wire up and very easy to get to operate. So everything actually went together as it said, pretty much. We just put this on the wall, and then I poked through my wall here. If you see, I just use a hammer drill, poke through the wall, and you probably could do it with a regular drill bit if you wanted to, like a regular concrete bit. You could go through that wall without using a hammer drill. And I went through there and put my transformer on the other side of the wall. I'll show you that real quick. So this is the transformer that comes with it. I think it's a 16 volt. So if you ever needed to replace it, you could probably do that pretty easily. And I did notice that the gate also has a protective circuit, which is pretty cool, because if you happen to wire something a little bit wrong, I'm not going to say that you hook it up backwards and it's going to not blow it. It probably would, but it did have a protective circuit, and it shuts off if something isn't right, and then you can unplug it and unplug the battery and then replug everything in, and it'll reset itself. So that is pretty nice. So also not included with it, but I just use a doorbell button. I put a manual control for the gates inside my garage. You can do that pretty easily. I used number 18-2 or /2 thermostat wire, and it seems to be adequately powered for it. And it was very, because these are solid wires, and the ones that came from there to I'll show you. These here were stranded, or not, yeah, these were stranded wire, and they might have been slightly larger, but the ones that I have are solid wire right here. And they were fairly small, so I felt that was enough, even though it might have said to put a 14 in here. The 18 seemed to work fine, and that's the biggest one I could find as far as thermostat wire goes. This is the 18 right here. So anyway, I cut the concrete, and with a regular cutoff wheel, or I used a metal, what's it called, concrete blade with a diamond wheel, and cut the concrete and slid that into there and covered it with silicone all the way in, and then put my posts in and whatever. So that's how I did mine, and then I just used regular. This is actually 100% silicone, which is silicone 1. Make sure it says silicone 1. That's the strongest one you can buy, and that actually filled the hole really nice and looks good. And also it will last. It says pretty much forever. So I used that all the way along here, ran my wire in there, just used a putty knife and shoved it in the ground. It was really easy to do. The thing that's nice about these is everything runs on 12 volts. So if there was ever a problem with power outage or something like that, this would still operate, because it does have the battery backup and all that on 12 volts. Versus some of the ones that you look at, let's say you go with like some of the Lift Masters or whatever, something like that, might not operate on 12 volts. They might have a completely different system where this one can have a battery backup. This can run by solar. It can run by a lot of different things. So if you're in a rural area, it's actually pretty cool that you can have it charged by solar, or not have power somewhere far away. Like if you have a gateway out on your property, you can just get the solar panel and then add it to this, and the battery will run all the mechanism and everything. So even if I unplug the power, it'll still work. So it's pretty cool. So that's how that works. You get two different things here. You get the board, which is already mounted in here, and you get this thing separate, and this is for your remote. So those are two separate things. So I guess this could be replaced if your remote thing went bad. You could probably buy that somewhere. But apparently, from what I looked into, there aren't any parts. There aren't any parts available for these. But I figure most of them don't have parts. I mean, you can buy some of them, like the Mighty Mule or whatever. You can buy some of the parts for them, but for the price of this, you could probably just replace it, or replace the whole RAM system, for very inexpensive. It's only like $400 for the whole setup or whatever it was. So compared to, like, some of the other ones, which are closer to $1,000 or more, some of them are like $2,000, and may only give you the same amount of power as this one does. So, I am running an offset hinge. I'll show you guys what that is and why that might be a significant thing if you are buying one of these. So this gate actually has to pull uphill. It's not just pulling it level, and it does it with no problem. So I got the largest unit that this manufacturer makes because I wanted to make sure that it was going to be enough for this gate going uphill. It's well more than enough. I could probably have gotten a smaller one, but the offset hinge is basically a larger hinge on the bottom and a smaller hinge on the top, and what that does is that makes the gate pull up. It goes up and back at an angle, kind of like this, and what that does is it makes it so that it will actually go up the hill and open all the way, because you see how high that one is off the ground. I had to go up maybe 8 to 10 inches, so I had to put a big offset hinge on here. So that's why I went with the larger gate opener. So anyway, I don't know if there's any other things I need to cover in this. I really think that it's a great value for the money. I would buy these again for sure. I don't know how long they're going to last. Keep an eye on the video and come back in maybe a year or so, and if it's still working great, I'll put a comment in there. Make sure that if you see something that I missed, or something you're interested in, or if you like it, make sure you make a little comment in there, or check the comments below and like the ones that have corrections that I needed to put in here, or like the ones that other ones that they like the opener or have the opener, so that those comments will be higher up on the search. And then if you see something that's inappropriate, be sure to dislike that as well, because that'll help other people that are trying to look for this gate opener, look for a nice gate opener for their house, to make good decisions, because a lot of times those comments are misleading, and you need to kind of correct those people as well. So help me out with that. I really appreciate it, and then it'll also help the video. So I did put my wires inside some EMT so my dog won't bite them. I didn't use the plastic because if he touches that with his teeth, he's not going to be happy. So I figured we have a lot of lizards, and if a lizard got up there, he would probably start pulling wire. So other than that, he won't touch it. But if there's a lizard in there, man, he's going to try and get it. So anyway, but that's it for the review. I really would encourage you to buy one if you are making a decision. I don't see anything wrong with it. I don't work for these people. I don't get anything from them. But it seemed like a pretty good deal, and I think the opener is very, very sturdy and very well made, and I think it'll last a long time in comparison to the other ones available. So it's probably made in China, You know, a lot of stuff is. Most things are. Even like Mighty Mule, I bet you there's made in China too, even though it says, you know, an American company or whatever. But I bet you anything, it's probably still, most of the parts are probably manufactured in China. So anyway, but it's, you know, that's just the way it is. All right, so I'll talk to you in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.